All right, guys, I wanted to talk about the concept of a biological tax. And what that is that there is a biological cost of being alive, okay? And that's for all life forms, okay? So if you are alive, there is a biological cost, which means there's going to be some breakdown, as a carbon-based life form, all right? There's going to be some breakdown of the body as we age, as we live on this planet. It is just part of the circle of life, all right? And this biological cost is inherent in everyone, all right? The difference is that what's causing that cost, it could be more or less in some people, and how well your body can mitigate, repair, mitigate, deal with, okay? That's going to be different. It's going to be different for everybody. So we've got different variables that come into play as to how well our body is going to deal with this biological cost, okay? It's a biological tax, right? It's a tax on the body, one that needs to be dealt with, okay? So I want to stick with skincare for now, since I've been kind of on a roll with that lately. When it comes to your skin, okay, you have to remember humans prior to the agricultural revolution had a lot more shade to deal with on the planet, not deal with, but to help them, all right? There was a lot more shade on the planet, no matter where you lived. The whole people living in the desert and stuff, ain't no human gonna choose to live in the desert, okay? That came after, when people were forced to have to move, okay? But humans are not going to choose to live in the desert, all right? Let's be real. So there was a lot more shade. Prior to the agricultural revolution, humans were eating a human-appropriate diet, okay, which would allow their body to be able to have better resources and better healing abilities and better repair abilities, all right? And they were also living an entirely different lifestyle, all right? So we have a lot of things working against us. And one of the big problems with a lot of the whole biohacking stuff is that we are trying to supplement and kind of put this stuff into a lifestyle that is really misaligned. So again, it's kind of one of those things, right? All we can do is try to align ourselves as much as we possibly can with the way we were designed and created. But if you just start throwing all these biohacks onto a life that is completely unaligned, I really just, I don't know, I'm not feeling it. Okay, I'm not feeling it. And you guys know that I've talked a lot about the whole sun healing community, which is only telling you a little bit of information that actually is true and makes sense. And then a lot of other things they're telling you, if you follow it down, if you actually continue to do research and look deeper into it from a physiological perspective, what they're telling you is not truthful, okay? It's not completely truthful, and it is not balanced by the other side of the story. And that's what makes me the most irritated, okay? And I'm not going to get into it in this video. I've already talked about it in other videos. But when it comes to your skin, the thing is that most of us have come through this life with a diet that has been absolutely horrific, and it potentially could have done some permanent damage to our body, or at least, put the boot on our head significantly enough that we may never be able to fully free ourselves from that. So right there, we've got some big, limitations. with our body's inherent healing and repairing abilities. Okay, they're probably not functioning optimally. Everybody has different genetic variations, okay? And again, we don't always know what ours is, so we don't know who we're going to be, what's going to happen, how our body is going to respond until we know. And then sometimes it's too late and the damage has been done and you're screwed, okay? So again, a lot of it is we just don't know. Genetic testing isn't always reliable because there's a lot of other factors that come into play. So genetic testing is like one tiny little piece of it, and I'm not like promoting it, okay? I'm just saying we don't know what we've come in with. And there's so many variables that come into play, okay? And then making changes into your diet or, you know, your lifestyle or whatever isn't necessarily going to completely annihilate your past. Okay, it might help, it might support, you might be better, but it doesn't mean that it is going to completely get rid of everything that has happened to you in your past, all right? So we have to keep that in mind. So when it comes to the skin and skin cancer and aging and all of that stuff, clearly the sun ages us, okay? I'm not going to get into the skin cancer thing, not right now. But it clearly ages us. And when you look at animals on land that don't have fur, they all do things to protect their skin, okay? And yes, you know, some people have more melanin than others. They're going to be a little bit better protected, but remind you, the planet used to have a heck of a lot more trees on it, so humans were actually spending significantly more time in the shade, all right? And they would also make hats, clothing, mud, earth elements to protect their skin. Okay, this is well established. This is well known, all right? So, and these were people that had melanin on their skin doing this, okay? So if you are Caucasian like I am, we need to be really careful, okay? So, we need to be really sensible, especially if you live in an area where they get quite a bit of intense sun with a higher UV. Now, when you look at dolphins and whales, okay, sea creatures, especially the ones that have to constantly come up to the surface to breathe, all right, while they don't necessarily get skin cancer, they do get some skin damage, okay, damage to their outer skin. However, they also shed their skin much faster than humans, okay? So dolphins especially, dolphins are shedding their skin constantly. Whales, not as fast, but they are shedding it more than humans, which means any kind of issues that they're going to have, it's going to get shed off, okay? Much more quickly versus us that takes a month, if not longer, okay? So again, we are at a bit of a disadvantage there. It's another thing to consider, okay? And you don't want to be sloughing your skin off every day aggressively by exfoliating, because that's not cool, because we actually need it for protection. If your skin's not doing it naturally and you force it to have to work overtime, that's going to create more problems than it's worth, because you're actually going to be removing that protective layer because it's not falling off naturally, all right? So you have to be really, really careful. And I've talked about this in a lot of my videos about how I chose to resurface my skin and why I chose what I chose and why I did it the way I did it. I did it extremely gently, and my method, okay? Again, I've talked about that in other videos, and why you have to be extremely careful with your skin, and why any kind of aggressive exfoliating is really bad. So that's not something that you want to do. But where I'm going with this is that even whales, you know, they get the blister burns, they do get the damage, they do get the UVA damage. But again, it goes back to this idea of the biological tax. Okay, so when it comes to life, we all have to pay this biological tax. But at what point is it too much for the body and the body starts to break down? And this is where this comes in, right? We don't know. We don't really know, because we don't have a clear view or a clear idea of where we're at. So we don't know what's going to happen down the road. And none of us really know all the different variables that come into play. So it's probably not the best idea to push your luck. That's just my feeling. And if you want to have nicer skin for a longer period of time, it is absolutely wise to protect your skin from excessive sun exposure. I mean, that just makes sense, right? Like, again, I'm not a freak about it. I'm not one of those people that is like so hardcore about it. But if you are a person who like, has a history of sun damage like I do, you probably want to be really, really, really cautious as you start to get older, okay? So, human appropriate diet goes a long way, but a lot of us didn't start that until adulthood, and we've accumulated a lot of damage up until that point. And again, how much of that damage can be completely repaired and healed? I don't know. I'm not taking a chance, okay? So I'm cautious, and I do protect my skin. And I am going to throw some sunscreen on the sides of my neck, but I have to use a different one for that. So be careful out there, okay? There's a lot of information, and people oftentimes tell you the side that they want you to hear, but they don't educate you. And that's really annoying. They're not showing you both sides of the story, and it's important to know both sides of the story so that you can make an informed decision. Okay? We want to be able to make an informed decision. So if you believe that there's, quote, benefits from the sun, and this is beyond the circadian rhythm stuff. I'm not talking about the circadian rhythm stuff, okay? That's well established, all right? But the other perks, they're not really healing benefits, okay? They're physiological responses to damage, and you have to understand what that damage is, and you need to understand the physiology of what else is going on and the negative downstream effects to see if that's something you even want to do, all right? Or something that you want to be aligned with. Because if something is hurting you, harming you, your body pumps something out or does something in direct relationship to protecting you, but you're calling that a health benefit. It's just a repair benefit, okay? You may get a little bit of benefit because your particular situation is going to do okay with that, but for somebody who doesn't need that, it's not a health benefit, okay? And I've talked about the whole lowering blood pressure thing, right? When you're out in the sun, it can lower your blood pressure. That is a physiological response to the sun damage, okay? To the damage from the sun. And for somebody with low blood pressure, that's actually a bad thing. So it's not a healing response. It's just a response. It just might be a benefit for somebody who has high blood pressure. But it's not correcting the blood pressure. It's not correcting anything. Not truly healing you. I hope that makes sense, okay? All right, but circadian rhythm, yes. It's really good to have your circadian rhythm in alignment with nature, for sure. But getting a lot of sun exposure on the skin is not necessary. And we should be getting vitamin D from food, all right? Signing out.